Outrun me with that junk car. 5 words. A $220 million mistake. Preston Whitmore III is a CEO, a millionaire, a member of the most exclusive country club in Scottsdale. On a March afternoon, he pulls his white Lamborghini alongside a 1972 Chevrolet Camaro at a red light. The paint is faded. The chrome is dull. Preston sees junk. He steps out. He circles the car. He looks at the black driver and laughs. "What are you doing here? This isn't your kind of neighborhood." Then, "Outrun me with that junk car. I dare you." Then he bets his entire company. He loses the race by 14 seconds. He loses his company in 90 days. Because that black driver? He wasn't nobody. Preston Whitmore looked at a black man in an old car and saw someone beneath him. He was wrong. It cost him everything. Stay until the end. You'll want to see who was really behind that wheel. 6 in the morning, Scottsdale, Arizona. The desert air still carries the coolness of night. A mockingbird calls from somewhere in the mesquite trees. The sky is shifting from black to purple to the first hints of orange. Malcolm Travers stands in his garage. The concrete floor is spotless. He mopped it yesterday, same as every Sunday. Tools hang in perfect rows on pegboard walls, each outline traced in black marker so he knows immediately if something is out of place. His father taught him that. Order creates clarity. Clarity creates speed. And in the center of the garage, illuminated by a single overhead light, sits the car. A 1972 Chevrolet Camaro SS. Black paint that has seen better decades. Faded in places, touched up in others, never quite matching. Brown leather interior cracked in places, soft in others. The kind of car most people would call a project, or a relic, or junk. Malcolm runs his hand along the hood. The metal is cool under his palm. He knows every curve, every imperfection, every story this car holds. The small dent near the passenger mirror where his father bumped a shopping cart in 1986. The scratch on the rear quarter panel from a branch that fell during a monsoon storm in 1994. The replacement taillight housing that doesn't quite match. The original shattered when a rock kicked up on the highway in 2003. The car belonged to his father, Samuel Travers, a mechanic who worked 60-hour weeks and never complained. A man who taught Malcolm everything about engines before Malcolm ever sat in a race car. Samuel passed away in 2019. Cancer, quick and merciless, from diagnosis to funeral in 11 weeks. Malcolm kept the car exactly as his father left it, the exterior anyway. Under the hood is a different story, a 454 cubic inch V8, rebuilt and tuned to specifications that would make most engineers weep with admiration. Forged internals, custom camshaft, headers that Malcolm fabricated himself in a friend's machine shop. But from the outside, it looks like what it is, a 52-year-old American muscle car that has seen better days. There are no trophies in Malcolm's house, no championship rings on display, no framed photographs of podium celebrations. If you walked through his living room, you would see comfortable furniture, a modest television, and bookshelves lined with engineering manuals and biographies of jazz musicians. You would never know that the man who lives here once stood at the absolute pinnacle of motorsport. 3 Formula One World Championships. 1998, 2001, 2003, 41 Grand Prix victories. A career that made him a legend in Europe and a footnote in America, where open-wheel racing never quite captured the national imagination. Malcolm retired in 2005. He was 33 years old. He walked away at the top, which is rare. He walked away quietly, which is rarer still. No farewell tour, no tearful press conferences, just a simple statement. I came to race, I raced, now I'm done. Now he runs the Travers Racing Academy, a non-profit. 142 graduates so far, kids from tough neighborhoods, kids who remind Malcolm of himself at that age, hungry, talented, overlooked. Kids whose guidance counselors told them they'd never amount to anything. He teaches them to drive. More importantly, he teaches them discipline, focus, the understanding that excellence requires patience. His father's words echo in his mind every morning. Don't explain who you are. Let them see. And another phrase, one Malcolm has carried like a compass through every victory and every loss. Always finish what you start. Malcolm opens the driver's door. The hinges creak slightly. He could fix that, but he likes the sound. The leather seat accepts his weight with familiar give. He reaches up and taps the dash cam mounted on the windshield. A small red light blinks on. He always runs the dash cam. Old habit from his racing days, when every piece of footage could mean the difference between a penalty and a clean record. You never know when you'll need the footage, he once told a student. The student laughed. Malcolm didn't. The engine turns over. That deep V8 rumble fills the garage, vibrates through the steering wheel, settles into Malcolm's chest like a second heartbeat. He pulls out onto the quiet street. The sun is just beginning to paint the eastern sky orange and pink. It's going to be a warm day. Malcolm has errands to run, parts to pick up, paperwork at the academy, the ordinary machinery of an ordinary life. He takes his usual route, past the strip malls and the gas stations, past the golf courses and the gated communities, past the entrance to Ridgecrest Country Club where a wrought iron gate and a guard booth separate the members from everyone else. Malcolm has driven past this gate hundreds of times. He has never thought twice about it. Today will be different. March 12th, 2024. 2:52 p.m. The Arizona sun beats down on the asphalt. Heat shimmers rise from the road like transparent curtains. The temperature gauge on Malcolm's dashboard reads 93 degrees. Malcolm sits at a red light. The Ridgecrest Country Club entrance is 20 feet to his right. The guard booth is staffed now. A man in a khaki uniform sits inside, reading something on his phone. The wrought iron gate stands closed, its decorative scrollwork casting intricate shadows on the concrete. A white Lamborghini Huracan pulls up in the next lane. The engine note is high and sharp, an Italian scream compared to the Camaro's American growl. The license plate reads Fineage 1. Chrome wheels gleam. The paint is so white it almost hurts to look at in the direct sunlight. The driver's window descends with an electronic whir. A man in his late 40s leans out. Polo shirt, collar popped. Designer sunglasses that probably cost more than Malcolm's monthly grocery bill. The kind of tan that comes from golf courses and yacht decks, not from actual labor under the sun. Preston Whitmore III. He looks at the Camaro. His expression shifts from curiosity to amusement to something that looks a lot like contempt. The progression takes about 3 seconds. "What is this thing?" Preston calls out. His voice carries that particular blend of entitlement and condescension that Malcolm has heard before in different cities, in different decades. "Did you dig it out of a junkyard?" Malcolm keeps his eyes forward. His hands rest on the steering wheel at 10 and 2. The dashcam's red light blinks steadily in his peripheral vision. Preston opens his door, steps out onto the asphalt. His loafers click against the pavement, Italian leather, probably hand-stitched. He walks around the front of his Lamborghini and approaches the Camaro, circling it like a shark examining prey. He raps his knuckles against the hood. The sound is hollow, metallic. "Seriously, does this thing even run? Or do you push it around for decoration?" Malcolm says nothing. He has learned over 52 years that silence is often the most powerful response. Preston bends down to look through the open window. His cologne is strong, something expensive and aggressively masculine. His smile is the smile of a man who has never been told no, never been denied, never been refused entry anywhere. "What are you doing in this neighborhood anyway? This isn't exactly your kind of area." The light is still red. Malcolm counts the seconds in his head. He has been in this situation before. Different cities, different faces, same assumptions. The assumption that the car tells you everything about the man. the assumption that appearance equals capability, the assumption that wealth equals worth. Preston straightens up, points at Malcolm through the open window. His finger is thick, manicured, adorned with a gold ring bearing a family crest. Tell you what, outrun me with that junk car, I dare you. To the 15 junction. You win, I give you 50,000 cash. Right here, right now. Malcolm turns his head, looks at Preston for the first time, studies the man's face, the arrogance, the certainty, the complete absence of doubt. And if you win, you never drive through this neighborhood again. You take your junk car and disappear. Preston grins, showing teeth that have clearly benefited from expensive orthodontics. Deal? Make it interesting. Preston's grin falters for just a moment. 50,000 isn't interesting enough for you? Your company. The grin disappears entirely. Preston stares. My company? FinEdge? You want me to bet $220 million against this? He gestures at the Camaro, a sweeping motion of disbelief. This heap of scrap metal? You said it was junk. Malcolm's voice is calm, level, the voice of a man who has stared down opponents at 200 miles per hour. Should be easy money. Something flickers in Preston's eyes. Pride, ego, the absolute certainty of a man who has never lost anything that mattered. The certainty that comes from a lifetime of winning simply because losing was never permitted. Fine. Preston leans in close. His voice drops to something that's almost intimate. You want my company? Outrun me with that junk car? And I'll sign over every single share of FinEdge Corp. But when you lose, and you will lose, you hand me the keys to this pile of garbage and I never see your face again. Deal? Deal. Preston extends his hand. Malcolm looks at it, does not move. I don't shake on bets, Malcolm says. I finish them. In the guard booth of Ridgecrest Country Club, a security officer named James Holloway watches through the window. He has worked here for 7 years. He has seen Preston Whitmore do this before, the confrontations, the insults, the alpha male posturing, always with the same type of target, always with the same casual cruelty. James shakes his head slowly. He doesn't know who the man in the Camaro is, but something about his stillness, his calm, his complete lack of fear. Something tells James that Preston Whitmore has finally picked the wrong opponent. The light turns green. Both engines return. The route is simple. 2.3 miles to the Highway 15 junction. 2 straightaways, 2 curves. Light traffic at this hour. A few cars that will need to be navigated around, but nothing significant. Green light. Preston launches first. The Lamborghini's all-wheel drive system hooks up perfectly, transferring 610 horsepower to the pavement with surgical precision. The tires chirp once, then grip, 0 to 60 in 2.9 seconds. The acceleration pushes Preston back into his leather seat. In his rearview mirror, Preston sees the Camaro shrinking, already falling behind. He smiles, tastes victory. Too easy. But Malcolm isn't racing yet. He's waiting, feeling the road through the steering wheel, through the seat, through the pedals, listening to his engine, reading the pavement ahead. In Formula One, the start is important. What comes after is everything. The first curve approaches. A gentle right-hander, maybe 30 degrees. The kind of corner that separates amateurs from professionals. Amateurs see a curve. Professionals see an opportunity. Preston enters fast, brakes late. Later than he should, actually, showing off even though no one is watching. He feels the Lamborghini's sophisticated traction control system, managing the weight transfer, keeping the car stable despite his aggressive input. Malcolm enters faster. No traction control, no stability management, no computer assistance of any kind. Just a man and a machine and 30,000 hours of muscle memory developed on the most challenging racetracks in the world. He clips the apex perfectly. the Camaro's rear end stepping out just slightly before hooking back up. He loses no speed. His line is textbook, or rather, his line is what textbooks try to describe. Preston loses 0.4 of a second. He doesn't know it yet. The first straightaway opens up. The Camaro's V8 opens up with it. The sound changes. Deeper, angrier, a mechanical roar that seems to come from the earth itself. This is not the sound of a junk car. This is the sound of American muscle at full fury. Preston glances in his mirror. His smile fades. The Camaro is gaining. Impossible. That junk car cannot be gaining on a Lamborghini Huracan. But it is. Malcolm's foot is flat on the throttle. His hands are steady on the wheel. His eyes are fixed on the road ahead, already planning the next corner, already calculating speed and angle and grip. This is not a street race to him. This is nothing. A casual Sunday drive compared to what he has experienced. He has raced at Monaco, where the margin for error is measured in centimeters and a moment's hesitation means contact with concrete barriers. He has raced at Spa, where rain turns the track into a mirror and the brave separate themselves from the merely talented. He has raced against the best drivers in the world, wheel to wheel, at 200 miles per hour, with millions of people watching. Preston Whitmore is not even in the same category. Preston Whitmore is not in any category that matters. The second curve, a sharper left-hander, maybe 45 degrees. This one requires commitment. This one separates those who believe in their abilities from those who merely hope. Preston brakes too early. Fear, finally, creeping into his calculations. His subconscious knows what his conscious mind refuses to accept. He is being hunted. Malcolm doesn't brake at all, doesn't. He trails the throttle, rotates the car with weight transfer alone, and exits the corner with the Camaro's nose pointed straight at Preston's rear bumper. The maneuver is so smooth, so effortless, that it looks like the car is driving itself. It isn't. Malcolm is simply that good. They are side by side now. The rumble of the V8 mixes with the scream of the V10. American muscle against Italian engineering. History against technology. Experience against equipment. Preston looks left. For the first time, he sees Malcolm's face clearly. Calm, focused, almost bored. The face of a man who has done this so many times that it no longer requires conscious thought. The final straightaway. 500 meters to the junction. Preston floors it. The Lamborghini screams forward, every one of its 610 horses straining against gravity and air resistance. The Camaro screams louder. Malcolm passes Preston like Preston is parked. The gap opens. 1 car length, 2, 3, 4. By the time they reach the junction, Malcolm is so far ahead that he has time to slow down, pull over to the shoulder, turn off his engine, and open his door before Preston's Lamborghini even crosses the invisible finish line. 14 seconds. Not a gap, a chasm, a canyon, a distance that no amount of horsepower could have overcome. Preston pulls up behind the Camaro. His hands are shaking on the steering wheel. His face is red, not from exertion, but from something else. Disbelief. Rage. Humiliation. The unfamiliar sensation of being completely, utterly outclassed. He steps out of the Lamborghini. His legs feel unsteady. He walks toward the Camaro, where Malcolm is leaning against the driver's door, arms crossed, waiting. "You cheated." Preston's voice cracks. "There's no way that junk car beat me fairly. It's modified. It's illegal. This doesn't count. I want a rematch." "There's no rematch clause in outrun me with that junk car." Malcolm's voice is quiet but firm. "You said it. I did it. A bet is a bet." Preston stands in the Arizona sun, sweat beading on his forehead, his $300,000 Lamborghini cooling behind him. He has never lost a bet. He has never been beaten like this. He has never felt so small. "Look," he says, trying to regain composure. This was a joke, a figure of speech. No one actually expected. You said, and I quote, outrun me with that junk car and I'll sign over every single share of Finedge Corp. Malcolm's voice does not waver. I have it on video, word for word. That's a contract. You can't be serious. You think any court in America would enforce a roadside bet between strangers? I think a court would watch the video. I think they'd hear you say those exact words. Twice, actually. And I think they'd ask you to honor your bet. Preston's composure cracks completely. His face twists with something ugly. Not just anger, but fear. Real fear. The kind that comes when you realize your mouth has written a check your wallet can't cash. Who the hell do you think you are? Do you have any idea who I am? I'm Preston Whitmore. I built Finedge from nothing. I employ 400 people. I sit on 3 boards. I golf with senators. You're nobody. You're just some guy in a junk car. Malcolm remains motionless. His arms are still crossed. His expression has not changed. I'm the guy who just beat you by 14 seconds, and I'm the guy who's going to own your company. Preston's hand goes to his pocket. He pulls out his phone. His fingers are trembling as he dials 3 numbers. I need police immediately. Ridgecrest Country Club entrance, Highway 15. There's a black male threatening me, trying to extort me. He's demanding my company. Yes, I'll hold. The words hang in the air like smoke. Malcolm has heard variations of this script before, in different cities, in different decades, always with the same casual weaponization of fear. He does not move. He does not raise his voice. He does not give Preston the reaction Preston is looking for. He waits. 8 minutes later, 2 Scottsdale police cruisers pull up, lights flashing. Officer Daniel Perry steps out of the lead vehicle. He is 29 years old, relatively new to the force, and he carries himself with the careful professionalism of someone still learning the weight of the badge. Preston is already talking before Perry reaches them, words tumbling out in a rush of indignation and accusation. Officer, this man is trying to steal my company. He's delusional. He's dangerous. I don't know what he's on, but he's making threats. Arrest him. Perry holds up a hand, turns to Malcolm. Body camera recording, the red light visible on his chest. Sir, can you tell me what's happening here? This gentleman bet his company stock against my car in a race, Malcolm says. His voice is steady, factual, without emotion. He lost. I'm asking him to honor the bet. I have dashcam footage of the entire conversation and the race. Perry's eyebrows rise slightly. May I see the footage? Malcolm nods. He retrieves his phone from his pocket, connects to the dashcam's Wi-Fi, and pulls up the video. He hands the phone to Perry. The officer watches in silence. He hears Preston circle the Camaro and call it junk. He hears Preston issue the challenge. He hears Preston say, $220 million. He hears Preston say, every single share of Finedge Corp. He watches Malcolm win the race by a margin that makes the Lamborghini look like it was standing still. When the video ends, Perry looks at Malcolm, then at the Camaro. Really looks at it this time. Then he pulls out his own phone and begins typing. Running the plates. The database returns quickly. Registered owner, Travers Racing Academy. Vehicle history, competition use. Racing classification, Formula 1. Perry types again. Google search, Malcolm Travers. The results populate instantly. Images of a younger Malcolm on podiums around the world. Champagne spraying against cloudless skies. Trophies raised in triumph. Headlines from European sports pages. Travers claims third world title. The quiet champion dominates again. Malcolm Travers, the greatest American in F1 history? Perry lowers his phone. His expression has changed completely. The professional neutrality is gone. In its place is something else. Recognition, respect, and the dawning realization that this traffic stop has become something much more interesting. Sir, he says carefully, are you Malcolm Travers, the Formula 1 driver? Former. I retired in 2005. Three-time world champion? That's correct. Perry actually takes a step back. My father took me to the Phoenix Grand Prix in '99. I was 11 years old. I watched you win. I had your poster on my wall for years. You were the reason I... He stops himself, remembering professionalism. I'm sorry. That's not relevant. It's fine, officer. Preston has been listening with growing confusion. What? What are you talking about? Formula One? Him? He gestures at Malcolm with something between disbelief and desperation. That's impossible. He was driving that junk. Champions don't drive junk cars. Officer Perry turns to Preston. His voice is level, professional, but something in his eyes has shifted. The deference that men like Preston Whitmore are accustomed to receiving is notably absent. Mr. Whitmore, this man is Malcolm Travers. He's a three-time Formula One world champion. That's roughly equivalent to winning the Super Bowl 3 times, except in a sport that's far more technically demanding. He also runs a non-profit racing academy that's trained over 140 kids from underserved communities. Perry pauses, lets that sink in. And based on the video I just watched, you made a very clear bet with him, using very specific language about transferring company shares, and you lost that bet. Decisively. Preston's mouth opens, closes, opens again. No words come out. Perry steps closer to Malcolm, lowers his voice slightly. Mr. Travers, if you want to pursue this legally, I'll provide my body cam footage, the dash cam footage you showed me, and my sworn testimony. I witnessed the conversation. The bet was clear and voluntary on both sides. I appreciate that, Officer Perry. For what it's worth, sir. Perry hesitates, then continues. What you've done with the academy, training kids, giving them a chance, that matters more than any championship. At least that's what I think. Malcolm nods. No pride in the gesture. Just acknowledgement. Preston steps forward. His voice is rising, desperation bleeding through the anger. You can't do this. I'll sue. I'll sue both of you. I'll sue the police department. My lawyers will destroy you. You have no idea what kind of resources I have. Perry holds up a hand. Mr. Whitmore, I'd recommend you call your lawyers, because from what I saw, you made a bet, you lost, and now you owe this man a company. Everything else is above my pay grade. Preston stares at Perry, at Malcolm, at the Camaro with its faded paint and its hidden power. His face cycles through emotions, rage, disbelief, calculation. Then something settles, a cold determination. This isn't over, he says. Not even close. If you've ever been underestimated because of what you drive, what you wear, or what you look like, stay with me. This story is about to get personal. March 15th, 2024. Malcolm sends a formal letter to Preston Whitmore III demanding the transfer of all FinEdge Corp shares in accordance with their verbal agreement of March 12th. The letter is polite, professional, legally precise. It gives Preston 14 days to comply. Preston does not respond. Instead, on March 22nd, Malcolm receives a different kind of letter. Thick envelope. Embossed return address. The law firm of Cole, Harrison, and Associates. A lawsuit. Filed in Maricopa County Superior Court. $10 million in damages. The plaintiff. Preston Whitmore III, individually, and as CEO of FinEdge Corp. The charges: coercion, fraud, intentional infliction of emotional distress, predatory targeting, conspiracy to defraud. Malcolm reads the complaint in his kitchen. The coffee in his cup grows cold as he turns the pages. The language is remarkable, not for its legal precision, but for its creative reinterpretation of reality. Defendant Travers engaged in a predatory scheme to manipulate plaintiff into making statements that could be misconstrued as a binding agreement. Defendant's deliberate use of a vehicle designed to appear inferior while concealing its true performance capabilities constitutes fraud and deception. In other words, Malcolm's crime is driving a car that looked slower than it was. Defendant's presence in the Ridgecrest neighborhood on the date in question was not coincidental, but rather part of a premeditated plan to identify and target vulnerable, high-net-worth individuals. In other words, Malcolm's crime is driving through a public street. The lawsuit is filed by Harrison Cole himself, senior partner, $800 an hour. A client list that reads like a who's who of Arizona wealth, CEOs, politicians, at least 2 celebrities who made very bad decisions and needed those decisions to disappear. Harrison Cole does not lose cases. He buries them. He delays them. He makes them so expensive that opponents simply give up. The media spin begins within hours of the filing. Sources close to Preston Whitmore tell local reporters that Malcolm Travers is a professional con artist who targets wealthy individuals using deliberately deceptive vehicles. The phrase entrapment scheme appears in 3 different articles by the end of the day. By the end of the week, cable news talking heads are debating whether Malcolm should face criminal charges. The narrative is being written in real time, and Malcolm is losing control of it. Within a week, Malcolm's world begins to contract in ways he didn't anticipate. 2 major sponsors of the Travers Racing Academy withdraw their funding. Both are members of Ridgecrest Country Club. Both cite changing organizational priorities without further explanation. Combined, they represent 40% of the Academy's annual operating budget. A third sponsor, a local automotive dealership, calls to say they're reviewing the relationship. Malcolm knows what that means. Local attorneys refuse to take Malcolm's case. The first 2 cite scheduling conflicts. The third mentions potential conflicts of interest. The fourth is more honest, in a hushed voice over coffee. I'm not going up against Harrison Cole. The man has ruined careers, not for any amount of money. Malcolm sits alone in his academy office. The walls are covered with photographs. Students at graduation, students with their first jobs, students who have gone on to become mechanics and engineers, and in one case, a NASCAR pit crew member. Outside the window, students are running drills on the practice track. The whine of engines, the squeal of tires learning their limits. They don't know what's happening. They don't know that the program keeping them off the streets, giving them skills, giving them hope, that program might be gone in 6 months if the sponsors keep falling away. Malcolm's phone buzzes. Another media request. Another reporter wanting a comment on the alleged scheme. He ignores it. The lawsuit is not about winning. Malcolm understands this immediately. Preston Whitmore does not need $10 million. He has $220 million. He needs delay. Obfuscation. The opportunity to bury Malcolm in legal fees, discovery requests, depositions, and motions until the original bet becomes a footnote in a case file. This is how the system works. This is how men like Preston Whitmore have always operated. Not through strength or merit, but through attrition. Through the simple, brutal reality that justice is expensive, and most people cannot afford the admission price. Malcolm picks up the phone, calls his personal attorney, a man named Douglas who handles his taxes and academy paperwork and has never handled anything close to this. Doug, I need you to find me someone who isn't afraid of Harrison Cole. A long pause. Malcolm, that's a very short list. I don't care how short it is. Find them. He hangs up, walks to the window, watches his students take corners, learning the physics of weight transfer and grip, learning the patience that speed requires. His father's voice echoes in his memory. Always finish what you start. Malcolm has never walked away from anything in his life. He walked away from Formula One, but that was a victory lap, not a retreat. He has never surrendered. Never accepted defeat that wasn't earned. He's not about to start now. In his lawsuit filing, Preston Whitmore III maintains that his statements during the March 12th encounter were hyperbolic jest and never intended as a binding offer. His attorney, Harrison Cole, issued a statement. Mr. Whitmore was the victim of a calculated scheme designed to extract financial concessions through psychological manipulation. The so-called bet was nothing more than casual banter taken wildly out of context by an individual with clear predatory intent. We are confident the courts will see through this conduct and hold Mr. Travers accountable. Rachel Bennett has been a reporter at KTVS 12 for 11 years. She has covered corruption, fraud, institutional failures, and the occasional feel-good story to balance out the darkness. She has won 2 regional Emmys. She has sources in the police department, the courthouse, and half the businesses in Phoenix. And she has learned to trust her instincts. Her instincts tell her that the Malcolm Travers story is bigger than a bet. The tip comes from an anonymous email. An employee at Ridgecrest Country Club. She doesn't know which one yet. The message is simple. Preston Whitmore has done this before. Check the security footage. Ask about the others. The others. Rachel meets Malcolm at a coffee shop in downtown Phoenix. Neutral territory. He brings his laptop. She brings a legal pad and a recorder. She watches the dashcam footage twice, taking notes, pausing to write down exact quotes. When it ends, she looks up. "This is clear," she says. "He said the words. He made the bet. He raced. He lost. But to beat Harrison Cole in court, you need more than clear. You need overwhelming. You need pattern. You need context. What do you need from me? Access, cooperation, and patience. This kind of investigation takes time. If I rush it, if I make mistakes, Cole will bury me too." Malcolm nods. "You have all 3. Rachel begins to dig. Her first break comes from the anonymous source, who turns out to be James Holloway, the security guard who watched the confrontation from his booth. James agrees to meet off the record at a diner near the airport. Then, after Rachel explains what she's looking for and why, he agrees to meet on the record. Then, crucially, he agrees to provide something invaluable: access to the club's security camera archives. What Rachel finds is a pattern, a clear, documented, undeniable pattern. 5 incidents in 2 years, all involving Preston Whitmore III, all involving people of color. March 2022. Preston confronts a black physician in the club parking lot. The doctor drives a Honda Accord, perfectly respectable, but not flashy. Preston's recorded words: "What kind of doctor drives a welfare car? Are you sure you're at the right club?" The physician files a complaint with the club manager. Nothing happens. No investigation. No consequences. August 2022. Preston approaches a black family viewing a home for sale near the club. They are being shown the property by a licensed real estate agent. Preston walks across his lawn, interrupts the showing, and says, "This neighborhood has standards. Are you sure you can meet them?" The family does not buy the house. January 2023. Preston stops a black college student driving through the area. The student is a senior at Arizona State, visiting a friend who lives in the neighborhood. Preston blocks the student's car with his Lamborghini, approaches the window and asks, "Are you lost or are you casing houses?" The student files a police report. The report goes nowhere. June 2023. Preston calls the police on a black electrician performing permitted work at a member's home. The electrician has a valid work permit, the homeowner's explicit permission, and a company vehicle clearly marked with his employer's logo. He is nevertheless detained for 45 minutes while officers verify his story. No charges, no apology. March 2024. Preston confronts Malcolm Travers. The pattern is undeniable. The target selection is unmistakable. But Rachel needs more. She finds 3 additional witnesses, all people of color, all with stories about Preston Whitmore that echo each other in ways that cannot be coincidental. "He called my car junk," one witness tells her, a middle-aged man who works as an accountant. "Then asked if I stole it. I was picking up my daughter from a birthday party." He called my house that junk property at a HOA meeting, says another witness, a woman who owns a home in a neighborhood adjacent to the club. In front of 30 people. I've lived there for 12 years. He called my lawn equipment junk and asked if I had a permit to work here, says the third witness, a landscaper who was mowing his own lawn. I was at my own house, mowing my own grass, in my own neighborhood. The word junk. Over and over and over, a code word, a weapon, a way of saying you don't belong without saying it explicitly. Rachel obtains an internal email sent by Preston to the Ridgecrest Country Club Board in January 2024. The subject line, Community Standards, Urgent. We need to be more aggressive about keeping the wrong people out. Start with the parking lot. If they drive junk, they probably don't belong here. Our members pay significant dues for the privilege of exclusivity. We need to protect that privilege. If they drive junk, they probably don't belong. James Holloway agrees to go on camera. His face is tense, his voice steady. I've worked there 7 years. Every incident I reported involving Mr. Whitmore was with a person of color. Every single one. And he always started with the car. Junk car. Welfare car. Suspicious vehicle. It was his tell. His opening move. Rachel's 3-part series airs on April 15th. Part 1 covers Malcolm's story. Part 2 reveals the pattern. Part 3 features the witnesses, the emails, the security footage. Within 48 hours, the series has been viewed over 2 million times online. National outlets begin picking up the story. The phrase, junk car racism, enters the national vocabulary. The tide of public opinion shifts dramatically. But something else happens. Something Rachel didn't expect. What Harold Gibson knows has been buried for 41 years, and it connects Malcolm Travers to Preston Whitmore in a way neither man ever imagined. Harold Gibson's voice is thin with age, but his memory is sharp. 78 years have not dulled the details. Mr. Travers, I saw the news. I knew your father, Samuel. He worked at Ridgecrest Country Club back in the 80s. A pause. The sound of an old man gathering difficult memories. Did he ever tell you about that? Malcolm's grip tightens on the phone. My father never mentioned that club. Not once in my entire life. He wouldn't have. Harold sighs. He was a mechanic there. 1979 to 1983. Best mechanic they ever had. Could diagnose an engine problem just by listening to it idle. Members loved him, requested him specifically. What happened? They fired him. September 1983. Said he stole car parts, expensive parts, catalytic converters, alternators, high-end components. Except he didn't steal anything. He would never. Silence on the line. Malcolm can hear his own heartbeat. Harold continues. Preston Whitmore's father, Preston II, he was club president back then. Some inventory went missing. Real theft by someone who was never caught. Instead of investigating properly, they needed a scapegoat. Someone to blame so the members would feel safe. Your father was convenient. Convenient. Black, quiet, no connections, no family with money or lawyers, no one to fight for him. Malcolm's jaw tightens. His father never spoke about this, not once in 52 years, not on his deathbed, not ever. Why didn't he fight it? He had a son. Harold's voice softens. 11 years old. And that, you. He didn't want you growing up watching your father get destroyed by people with more money and more lawyers. He didn't want you to learn that the world was rigged against people like you. So he walked away, got a job at a dealership downtown, never spoke about it again, never spoke about the Whitmores, never spoke about the club. Harold still has the paperwork. A copy of the termination record he kept when he tried to help Samuel file a complaint that went nowhere. Killed by lawyers and silence. Employee, Samuel James Travers, Employee ID number 152. Terminated 09/14/1983. Reason: theft of club property. Authorized by Preston R. Whitmore II, club president. 2 generations of Whitmores. 2 generations of Travers. The same club. The same lies. The same pattern of destruction. 1983. Preston Whitmore II. Destroys Samuel Travers with a false accusation. 2024. Preston Whitmore III tries to destroy Malcolm Travers with a lawsuit. Malcolm sits in his garage that night. The Camaro is parked in its usual spot. His father's car. The car Samuel drove home on the day he was fired 41 years ago. The car he kept running, kept polishing, kept passing down, because it was all he had left of his dignity. Malcolm didn't know. He knows now. This isn't about $220 million anymore. This is about finishing something his father was never allowed to finish. The support begins as a trickle. Within a week, it becomes a flood. The hashtag Malcolm Deserves paid trends nationally. 200,000 tweets in 72 hours. The story has become a symbol of arrogance and consequence, of debts that must be paid. The Formula One community speaks first. A former rival posts, "Malcolm Travers was the cleanest, fastest driver of his generation. If he says there was a bet, there was a bet." A former teammate adds, "I've known Malcolm for 30 years. He doesn't lie, and he definitely doesn't lose races." A current driver chimes in, "That junk car would smoke half the cars in my garage. Malcolm built it himself." A GoFundMe for legal defense reaches $420,000 in 60 hours. And then Gloria Hayes arrives. Gloria is 55 years old, 30 years of civil rights litigation, 6 victories against Harrison Cole specifically. She reviews the dash cam footage in Malcolm's kitchen. When it ends, she looks up. "This is one of the clearest verbal contracts I've seen in my career. Outrun me with that junk car, and I'll sign over every single share. That's offer. Deal. That's acceptance. The race is consideration. This is binding under Arizona law." Harrison Cole says it was hyperbole. Harrison Cole gets paid to say whatever his clients need. Gloria smiles. The question is whether a judge will believe it. They won't. She brings in Victor Sandoval, a contract law professor at Arizona State, as an expert witness. In Arizona, verbal contracts are fully enforceable when 4 elements are present: offer, acceptance, consideration, and mutual intent. This video shows all 4, unambiguously. Mr. Whitmore owes Mr. Travers his company. Gloria files for expedited arbitration. No jury trial, no years of delays. A single arbitrator will make a binding decision within 30 days. Harrison Cole fights the motion. He wants delay. He wants discovery. He wants the slow grind of the legal system. The arbitrator denies Cole's request. Hearing date, May 28, 2024. Preston Whitmore has 23 days to find a way out of his own words. May 28, 2024. 10:00 a.m. Phoenix Arbitration Center. A conference room with oak paneling and fluorescent lights. Malcolm sits on one side with Gloria Hayes and Victor Sandoval. He wears a simple gray suit, his father's watch on his wrist. Preston sits on the other side with Harrison Cole and 4 junior associates. His suit costs more than most cars. His fingers drum the table, never quite still. The arbitrator is the Honorable Margaret Sullivan, retired after 25 years on the bench. No patience for theatrics. Gloria speaks first. This case is simple. A man made a bet. He lost. Now he doesn't want to pay. We're here to make him pay. The dashcam footage plays on a large screen. The room is silent as Preston's voice fills the space. "Outrun me with that junk car. I dare you." And then, "Outrun me with that junk car, and I'll sign over every single share of FinEdge Corp." Victor Sandoval presents his analysis. 4 elements of contract formation, all present, all documented. Officer Perry's sworn statement is read. I witnessed the aftermath. Mr. Whitmore clearly understood he had lost a bet. His attempts to avoid paying are consistent with someone who knows they owe a debt. Harrison Cole rises. This was a jest. Mere puffery. No reasonable person would interpret, "I'll sign over every share," literally. Gloria's response is immediate. When someone says, "I'll give you $1 million," and then actually participates in the condition, in this case a race, it's no longer hyperbole. Mr. Whitmore got in his car and raced. He performed. That makes it a contract. Harrison Cole addressed the arbitrator. The media coverage has created an atmosphere of prejudice against my client. Mr. Whitmore's comments were taken out of context. We maintain that no binding agreement was formed. Judge Sullivan turns to Preston. Mr. Whitmore, did you say the words "outrun me with that junk car and I'll sign over every single share of FinEdge Corp"? Preston's lawyer starts to object. Sullivan silences him with a look. Answer the question. Yes, but I didn't mean... Did you then participate in a race with Mr. Travers? Yes, but... And did you lose that race? Silence. Yes. Judge Sullivan reviews her notes. Then she looks up. The video evidence is unambiguous. Mr. Whitmore made a clear offer. Mr. Travers accepted. Both parties performed. Mr. Travers won. Under Arizona contract law, this constitutes a valid, enforceable verbal agreement. She pauses. Mr. Whitmore is hereby ordered to transfer 100% of his shares in FinEdge Corp. to Mr. Travers within 7 calendar days. Preston's face goes white. Harrison Cole closes his folder. Does not look at his client. Take. 7 days later, June 4th, 2024. Gloria Hayes' conference room. Preston sits across from Malcolm. Between them, a stock transfer agreement. Preston's hand shakes as he signs. He pushes the paper across, stands without speaking, walks out without looking back. Malcolm picks up the document, looks at the signature, folds it carefully, places it in his jacket pocket. You called my car junk, Malcolm says to the empty doorway. Now it owns your company. 6 months later, December 4th, 2024. FinEdge Corp. no longer exists. In its place stands Travers Ventures. Malcolm sold 60% of the shares to investors who passed his ethics screening. The remaining 40% generates enough income to fund what matters, $100 million. That's the number Malcolm deposited into the Travers Racing Academy Endowment Fund. Enough to operate for 200 years. 5 new locations: Phoenix, Tucson, Albuquerque, Las Vegas, Los Angeles. 800 students. Full scholarships for everyone. Preston Whitmore III filed for bankruptcy 3 months after the transfer. The Scottsdale house sold for $4.2 million. The Lamborghini sold too, purchased by a former Academy graduate. Preston lives in Ohio now, with his brother, in a guest bedroom. His calls go unanswered in Phoenix business circles. The club lost 45% of its membership after Rachel's investigation. New policies prohibit discrimination based on vehicle appearance or perceived socioeconomic indicators. Officer Daniel Perry was promoted to sergeant. He teaches at the police academy now, a lecture called Doing the Right Thing When No One's Watching. Rachel Bennett won a regional Emmy. She turned down a national network job to stay in Phoenix. James Holloway is now head of security at the Travers Racing Academy. 6 in the morning. The garage. The Camaro is parked in its usual spot. Same faded paint, same cracked leather, same engine his father helped him build. A student approaches, 16 years old. Mr. Travers, you could buy any car now. Ferraris, Lamborghinis. Why do you still drive this old Camaro? Malcolm touches the hood. The metal is cool under his palm. This car taught a millionaire a $220 million lesson. It taught him that junk is just a word people use when they can't see value. He opens the driver's door. And it taught me something my father always said. Don't explain who you are. Let them see. The engine turns over. That deep V8 rumble fills the garage. I think this car has earned its spot. Don't you? Outrun me with that junk car. Preston Whitmore said it as an insult. Malcolm Travers turned it into a $220 million receipt. Don't judge a car by its paint. Don't judge a man by his clothes. And never bet what you can't afford to lose. If you've ever been called junk, this story is for you. If you've ever been underestimated, this story is for you. Like, subscribe, share. 5 words can cost you everything. Or win you everything. It depends on which side of the bet you're on.